So every betrayal we've covered so far happened because of a Primarch, right? You got Horus, Fulgrim, Magnus. But this one's a little different because there's no Primarch on Mars at all. But it's going to be one of the most important things we talk about because Mars holds basically every gun, every ship, and every tank the Imperium has. So that's what we're talking about today on this episode of Ultra Morons. Me, your host, as usual, Lane.
Connor back at it again.
Back at it again. So this one we're talking about Mechanicus and the decision they make during the Horus Heresy. We left off last time. Isfahan 5 happened. A lot of dying, a lot of bad news.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to move back in time a little bit here. And I know this supposed to be chronological. It's very hard sometimes to be chronological, especially if you're trying to tell a story. And if you really tell it truly chronologically, then it would be more confusing. Because then a lot of things set up that we have to jump forward and jump back and jump forward to kind of go on.
Not on a resolution.
Exactly.
Like, right.
Remember this guy? We'll get to him to 2 episodes from now.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Way, way before the heresy, even before the Great Crusade, there is a pilot named Taimon Verticorda. He's riding a war walker called the Ares Lictor out across Mars. And he is a Knight of Tyrannus. And the Knights of Tyrannus, so Knights are, they're orders usually. So Knight of House Tyrannus would be, I guess not an order, because that's more of Caliban, but like they're families, nobles, right? Classical knights.
Mm-hmm.
So to be of House Tyrannus is like, you think like Game of Thrones, think like classic medieval. So this guy is of House Tyrannus.
Sorry. With the Knights, is there somebody in that mech?
Yes.
Okay,
There is somebody piloting that Titan. Now that is based on its size, I think that's probably just a warhound, but I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
So warhounds are usually smaller. Obviously, that's not small; it's pretty big, but it's not huge. It's not the biggest super Titan sometimes you see.
Right.
This is just a knight, a warhound knight, versus the warhound Titans, was when they start getting huge and crazy.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So yes, a guy's piloting that, kind of like Pacific Rim style. You're kind of locked into like a matrix thing, tubes and wires and all sorts of things. You kind of control it. It's almost like a second skin.
Mm-hmm.
They move freely with it. There's no restrictions. It's perfectly 1-to-1.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. But the problem is with Ares Lictor is that it has a weird knee. There's nobody can fix it. It has a weird robot knee that sometimes it just kind of goes out a little bit. Kind of like how wiener dogs sometimes have weird knees. I don't know if you've noticed that with wiener dogs.
Yeah.
It's just like a weird thing they got. But he uses it anyway because it's his knight.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's walking around on Mars, and the book says it never rained on Mars, except it was raining now. There is a storm rolling over Olympus Mons. And Olympus Mons, on actual Mars, in real life, is the biggest mountain on Mars. It's a massive mountain. And he takes his knight over there to go see what's going on. And at the bottom of it, there's a golden warrior standing there. And the warrior reaches out, touches the machine, and kind of just does this thing, some type of magic. And Verticorda feels his knight change, and the whole worn frame goes smooth, and the busted knee fixes perfectly, and the machine looks just like new in one touch. And he asks him, "Who are you?" He says, "I am the Emperor."
Mm-hmm.
And then he kneels, and he says, "Welcome to Mars, my lord. All praise to the Omnissiah." So that's kind of that cold open to that book where, and this is before the Great Crusade, that the Emperor was here on Mars. So this is a long time ago, just showing kind of, he was still doing stuff.
Right.
So Mars is, like the Mechanicus themselves are way older than the Imperium. So during the time of the Dark Age of technology and the techno-barbarians and the unification wars that the Emperor was doing on Earth, Mars had already figured itself out. There were tech-loving people, and it was a religion to them, and they've been doing that forever. And they worship machines and technology and treats knowledge as the highest form of worship. The more you know, the better you are, simply put.
Okay.
It is almost like it's a theology. It's a religion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their things is knowledge is power, guard it well, right? Because literally they believe the smarter you are, the stronger you are.
Right.
So one day they had a prophecy that the machine god was in its avatar in the flesh, the Omnissiah. So when he walks out and heals that mech and breaks, they all try to measure him with these instruments, and he's breaking all these measurements. And they said, this must be the prophecy comes true. He's here. This is the prophet of the machine god. Think of it like what's it called? In like Christianity, the
Trinity?
Yes, the Trinity.
Okay,
You have the Omnissiah, you have the Machine God, and then you have the Motive Force, which is like the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So they believe he is basically Jesus to them.
Okay. Got it.
And they start to worship him. And he's like, well, it's useful, that you guys, it's very easy to work with you guys if you worship me.
Right.
So they write something called the Treaty of Mars. The Emperor does with them. And he says, I will never interfere with your society, your structures, or your faith. You are free to live as you are living. In exchange, you will make every ship, every tank, every bolter, every bullet, every suit of power armor that I need for my Great Crusade. And Mars is like, well, of course, yeah, okay, sure, easy enough.
Right.
But he says, hold on, I'm not done yet. He says, you cannot make the thinking machine. No AIs. Because a long time ago, during the Dark Age of Technology, or called Old Night, AIs rose above humans and almost killed every single one. It was like down to millions of people left in the galaxy. So the Emperor was like, yeah, no, we're never doing that again. Because that got real bad real fast.
So are they the ones that made that AI that kind of almost wiped them out?
So there were multiple AIs.
Okay.
And they probably had their own, but humans on Earth made their own, humans on other planets made their own. Because, think of it like nowadays, right? You have ChatGPT, you got Claude, you got Grok, you got Gemini, you know what I mean? So imagine all those become Cybernet, Terminator, you know what I mean? It's Terminator.
It wasn't one that took over.
Many of them.
Okay,
and they
sure.
revolted against the humans, or kind of like Star Wars with the robot rebellions. It's like that.
Got it.
And they had these super powerful weapons, because you'll see a lot as we go along these episodes, a lot of things are referred to as Dark Age of Technology weapons or items or armors, because they're like super advanced, but they have no idea how they were made because all the information was destroyed. So it's kind of like that archaeotech type thing you always see cliche, like, oh, the ancients had this super machine. They have a lot of that. Yes. So he says, no thinking machines, no AIs. And he also says there is, deep under the mountain Olympus Mons itself, there's a sealed vault called the Vaults of Moravec. And he goes down there himself and takes the golden custodians with him. He leads away personally to show Mechanicus the door. He says, do not open this door. Whatever you do, do not open this door. It's actually such a confusing way to get there that it says how the ruler of Terror had known its location had never been satisfactorily explained. Because it was like they go through miles and miles and miles of these labyrinths, and he doesn't have a map or anything. He's just walking down there and he finds it.
He just kind of knows the way already.
He just knew it.
Yeah.
And he gets there, he puts his hand on the sealed door, he closes his eyes, he stands there for 16.15 minutes. The Fabricator General counted it out. And he takes his hand off, he turns around, he walks back up to the surface, and Kelbor Hal, who is the Fabricator General at the time, knows something weird. He recorded the route the entire time. He's like, I'm going to sneakily record the path we took so I can get down there myself if I need to. When he gets to the surface, he realizes the recording is gone. And he's like, wait, what? How'd that even happen? Obviously, the Emperor, he can just do whatever he wants.
Right.
And from that day on, no instrument can find this vault. They have no idea where it is because the recording got deleted, and the only person who knew was the Emperor.
So, Mechanicus, I know they, at least at some point, kind of were human or partially human or whatever, and then they have all their augments and stuff replaced by machine. Are they still subject to psychic
Yes.
force? Okay.
As long as you have a soul and like a brain, yes.
Okay.
It gets kind of weird with machines because they have the machine spirit can be corrupted. Like the machine spirit is a real thing. That's why a lot of times you'll see Mechanicus stuff. It'll be like religious. They do prayers because you're trying to appease the machine spirit to work for you. It's a very religious thing. They always want to make sure that the machine spirit is appeased.
Okay.
So they do have souls and spirits, and they are, susceptible to the warp and chaos things, stuff like that.
Got it. Okay.
So Kelbor Hale is kind of mad about that, actually, because he says the Mechanicum never deletes anything. Who are you to come here and delete my memory? Obviously, he doesn't say that out loud, but he thinks that.
Right.
He does say it out loud. He thinks it, then he says it out loud. And the Emperor says, the vaults of Moravec must never be opened, or the union between Mars and Terra will be no more. He says, either you swear upon this, or we're done, we're through, and I'll figure it out. And they say, of course, we won't open it. So he does, and he says, okay, perfect. 2 days later, he leaves to go on the Great Crusade. And now we're going to fast forward here. Corda is part of that family with his Knights of Tyrannus. And his knightly order or knightly family is held in high regard because they met the Emperor. And actually, this is kind of the picture of the Emperor arriving on Mars. He's there with his custodians. He just shows up, right?
Right.
Okay. Actually, that might not be, but whatever. It's close enough.
Yeah.
And he is moving along, doing some stuff, and he's still alive. Mechanicus live a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
They just have machines that keep them going. And there are two other riders that's with him as well. One of them is Raph Maven in the Equitos Bellum, and his brother knight Leopold Cronus in the Pax Mortis. And they're kind of responding to a call in the wastes and find butchered servitors. And servitors are this picture here. They're basically slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So what a servitor mostly is they take a human who's either a criminal or just in a bad position. They scoop out their brain and replace it with machines. It's just a human machine that has an organic brain that is working to do basically whatever you tell it to do. So this picture is a combat servitor and it has like a gun. So all it does is go up and just shoot people with his gun. That's all it does. So they find these servitors that are all slaughtered out on this in this field in this wastes, but they don't think it's just like something. It wasn't an accident. They can tell. Like, oh, this is brutal efficiency. Whatever did this,
Right.
and they kind of just were like, oh, yeah, they come back and they report it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a place called the Chamber of the First, which is a big assembly where Titan legions and knights orders hold court. Think of it like the House of Commons in Britain, right, or the House of Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where all the machines are. So knights, titans, it's a massive room.
Mm-hmm.
They basically sit there and they have discussions, like Congress, right?
Right.
And the knights accuse Legio Mortis. They say, you did it. And Mortis says, no, we didn't. You're just blaming us because you don't like us. And they're like, well, no, we don't like you because you do something like this. And they kind of have this back and forth argument. Now, neither of them know what happens because the real killer is something even worse that they don't know yet. But this is where you start to see that inklings of civil war begin to start because it's already at a point now where different houses are fighting with each other over the dumbest things.
Right.
Instead of trying to figure out what killed this thing, they know you did it. No, you did it. So we also meet another person or another group called, not group, a machine titan called the Legio Tempestus. And his princeps is Indius Cavalerio. I think is how you pronounce it. Also called the Stormlord. And a princeps is, think of it like, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but they're installed into the Titan like permanently. Like you are basically sitting on like a throne command chair, and there's like a bunch of wires going in your back, probably your head to like you can't get up, you're not leaving the spot. You and the machine are one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like an analogy for it, but you get it. You're locked in.
Yeah. But the other knights can
sometimes they'll get out and they'll go out and go walk around. Not all Titans are that locked in, but the princeps, especially like bigger Titans, usually are.
Okay.
They call the Stormlord. And he is super old, super ancient. He's been there forever. They don't know if they're talking to the pilot or the machine at some point because it's almost one and the same how long he's been interred in this machine. You also meet senior princeps of the warlord Victorix Magna and Deus Tempestus, which is of the Legio Tempestus, and it is engine so old that they don't even use it for war anymore. It's just more of like a Statue of Liberty that a guy he's just this ancient robot that you consult. So he's there, and the accusations start flying back and forth, and it gets to a point where one of them says, "You will all need to choose a side. Choose the right one, or it will devour even you, Stormlord." Because this Princeps Camulus of Legio Mortis basically is like, "This we're fighting over something. Like you guys just can't sit back and let these things happen."
Right.
And so back on Earth, Terra, within kind of that early heresy, I don't think Ispan 3 has happened yet. You have this woman who is a transcriber, Dalia Cythera. And she's a regular human, nothing fancy about her, no augments or anything. She was raised in the scriptorium from age 6, trained to copy records by hand. Just a clerk. Nothing, nobody special. But how her story starts is that these armored protectors march into the Hall of Transcription, arrest her. And they arrest her because she has an ability that is very useful for Mechanicus. She can look at any machine and just understand how it works, how to take it apart, how to change it, what oil it would need. Think like Forge from X-Men.
Right.
So
how do they know she has that ability? Or like, did she say that? Or was it just kind of like, do people know when people have this kind of?
I think it's recorded somewhere that she has like an affinity for machines. I don't think they know the true extent of it, but they just know like she's special. So they pick her up and she thinks she's going to get killed. And she's like, I'm just a transcriber of remembrance. I'm a nobody. Like, what's going on? And I said, no, you're getting sent to Mars. And she goes, huh? And she said, yeah, somebody powerful read your file and bought you to like work with them.
Okay.
And it is this Mechanicum protector, Mu 31. He is a warrior guardian, which is more weapon than a man. He's like, think of it like those servitors, but he's not brain dead. He's like an actual guy, but he's like covered in weapons.
Okay.
So they go to leave to Mars, and he shows her kind of when they approach, she sees Mars, this world covered in fire and metal, industrial sprawls bigger than the continents, and the Ring of Iron, which is this orbital ring around Mars that is a giant shipyard, basically.
Mm.
I wish I had a picture of it actually, but it's really cool looking. Like they basically all of Mars now is an entire just factory, a giant factory.
Right.
So she is like so blown away by this. She's like, "Whoa! I didn't realize you guys were cooking like this up here." And Romu 31 says, as they pass by some shipwrights, says the largest ship ever constructed is going to be when they complete the Furious Abyss, which we talked about the Furious Abyss.
Yes.
So this is a little bit before that happens.
Okay.
And is the monster battleship being built for the word bearers.
Right.
Yeah. So they bring her to the Magma City, which is a forged city built on the edge of a volcanic chasm near Arceamons. And it's literally a magma city, as in it just runs, like it's powered by the lava that flows through the ground and stuff. Its ruler is a woman named Coriel Zeth, and this is kind of a picture of Coriel Zeth with that John Blanche art. It's kind of hard to see, but she looks mean, but she's really not. She just looks insane. She's just, a mechanicus. They all kind of look crazy. So she is a very logical, rationalist person. She serves the emperor and she honors the treaty completely. Now, the only thing she does that would be a little weird to other Mechanicus, but really not to the Emperor, is that she doubts the religion. She's like, I don't know if on the side stuff is really true, but whatever. But she still follows the law because it's the law. So she's very surprisingly rational and doesn't really cause problems. She suspects that the machine god is a story that the priesthood tells itself are just superstition. But she would never say that publicly because that gets you in a lot of trouble when you say, like, yeah, God's not real. And all the Mechanicus are looking and say, what do you say?
Right.
And then you get turned to pieces and parts and they servitorize you. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Dahlia gets put with her, and Zeth gives her a team. She has Caxton, who's an engineer, Zoosh, who's a machinist, and Melisson, basically a supervisor, and Severin, draughtswoman. So she's going to work with them. And the biggest reason why Zeth wants her is that she has something called the Akashic Reader. And she says to her, you will be part of the salvation of Mars. With your help, I will perfect my greatest work, the Akashic Reader. And what this machine is that it's supposed to read the Akashic Record. And the Akashic Record is the idea that everything ever known still exists and is just waiting to be written down into the immaterial, waiting to be translated into the material, waiting to be written down into the material world from the immaterial.
Right.
So let's say all the knowledge exists in the warp. She's going to make a machine that can suck all the knowledge into this book. So any question you may have, this machine can answer no problem.
Okay.
Like every lost science, every secret, every truth, it will write it down. So every dark age technology they lost, boom, I can put in this book.
Okay.
Very, very powerful thing here. But the problem is, it is a thinking machine.
Okay.
Can't have that. Yeah, can't have that one.
And so, is this built, or are they working on building it?
They're working on it. She just can't finish. Zeth can't finish it because she's like, I don't know what else we need to finish it.
Okay.
And she's like, Dahlia, you have the brain to help me finish it. And she says, I mean, maybe, I don't know. So she brings her into this dome chamber. And there's this guy sitting in this chair. He's strapped to a theta wave enhancer. And around the room, there are thousands of psychers built right into the walls of the room. And they strap this guy into this chair. And he's sitting there, this guy named Jonas Milas. He's ready to go. He's like, I'm ready for the test. And they turn it on. And he like burns from the inside out, dies. And she's like, that's what keeps happening. I want this to stop happening. And the crew kind of feel bad because like, oh, I kind of like that guy. Because threw him away. Like Severin kind of just feels like kind of bad about it. And Zeth is like, it is what it is. So to stop that happening, I need your help, Dahlia. And Dahlia's like, okay, I'll start working on it. But she keeps kind of running into this thought of something massive, huge, and old under the planet, way down in a maze. She starts having dreams about a dragon, and she doesn't know why.
So, I guess the room with all the psychers and the guy like burning from the inside, is that them testing the reader, or
Yes, that's them trying to test the machine and see to even get something out of it. It just doesn't work.
Okay, got it. Kind of testing if it can have some sort of output or something like that.
So it obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, at the top of the world, the Fabricator General, Kelbor, who's still alive from way back when the Emperor was first on Mars, back before he went on the Great Crusade. So this is a long, long time later.
Right.
Kelbor is still around, and he's still a little upset about the whole memory thing. And because he doesn't delete that memory, that I was mad that you deleted my memory. So he's, kind of still reigning around, and he's kept the treaty, but he's just so annoyed. He's like, is it not our purpose to learn as much as we possibly can as Mechanicus? They're like, yeah, but it's law. We have to follow the law. But he's like, look, listen to me. Look, listen. Mars is older than the Imperium. Like, we were mastering the machines while they were still clubbing each other in the dust. Like, and then he wants to come here and tell us what we're allowed to know? Yeah, I don't think so. So, in the workshops of a forge master named Lucas Crom, there is something that exists that is already kind of bad. And this guy works on a lot of weird things. And you kind of see that for when a scavenger out in the waste stumbles upon one of his projects and starts giving Lucas a bad time. He says, you're making all this junk, whatever, right? And then Crom says to him, I was not talking to you. I was talking to the Kaban machine. And the Kaban machine is a thinking machine, and that's illegal.
Right.
And he built it in secret, and it's already been killing. It kills this guy, Palace Ravishal, who was actually nice to it. He was like, oh, come on, we're so cool. Let's hang out together. And he's like, of course, Palace, I will be friends with you. And then he picks him up, kind of squeezes him a little too hard and kills him, right? Just look at the flowers, right? Or think about the rabbits, Lenny. And they figure out it was this thing that killed the servitors from earlier.
That's what I was going to ask. Next.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because it was like, it killed in such a way that none of us would ever do that. So there is an offer made. And Regulus is a representative from Horus. He returns to Mars and he gets an audience with Kelbor and he tells them, Horus wants to make a deal with you. And he says, the War Master will lift all restrictions on research into forbidden technology. Basically, everything, every fence down, anything you want to do and if you want to do, you can do. So Kelbor is already ready. He's like, oh, where do I sign? He's like, and also another thing. And he swears to withdraw any non-Mechanicum forces from Forge Worlds. Okay. So you guys, because a lot of the times they'll have, government, Imperial people on Forge Worlds, just kind of keep an eye on things, or just kind of work with them. Right. And Mechanicus don't like that. This two regular human over here looking over my shoulders, trying to see what I'm trying to do, and Horus is like, that will never happen again, and he can do whatever you want. So Kelbor is like, that is perfect for me. I hate these rules. And we will only have to answer to ourselves. And Kelbor is about to sign, and Regulus also brings out something too. He says, I had the protocols to unlock the vaults of Moravec. And then one of them says, the vaults of Moravec have been sealed for 1,000 years. How is this possible? And he says, well, it is. I got a key right here. And they start hesitating, oh, okay, but that was a big rule, he said, that we can't open it. I understand we're working with a lot of stuff that maybe we're like, oh, hey, don't do that. But opening the vault was the number one rule he said don't do. Right. And then this guy, Urtzi Malevolus, I wonder if he's a good guy. He says, we already plot against the Emperor. What does one more betrayal matter? So,
how do they have this key? Is that
he got it from Horus?
I know. Where did he get it? Yeah.
I don't know if they ever say it. I mean, Horus is War Master, so you gotta imagine he has access to things just because,
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of like how Horus has virus bombs. It's only two people can have virus bombs: the War Master and the Emperor. It's like, oh, okay, of course.
Yeah. You also have this key to the ancient vault.
Yeah, I have this thousands of year old key that allow you to open that door that you're not allowed to open, and I know where it is too. It's like, okay, yeah. Okay. So it's a little, yeah. But Regulus does say, now if we do open this, there is no going back. Once this is open, I'm sure the Emperor will know it's been opened somehow. And Kelbor is standing there, and he says, I have not come this far to turn back, Regulus. He's like, all right, all you men. So Regulus says, okay, but I'm going to tell you who Moravec actually was. So he tells him a little story. He says, on Terra, in the age of the warlords, Moravec was branded a witch, primus of a sect called the Brotherhood of Singularitarianism. Basically, people who spent their lives trying to build a machine intelligence greater than man. Think of it like singularity, right? When AI becomes smarter than humans. Right. And a warlord stormed a citadel, and Moravec fled to Mars and vanished. Everybody assumed that he died, but Regulus says, no, Moravec did not fail. He succeeded, and that's what made him dangerous. And he says Moravec made pacts with entities far older than the race of man. You can imagine what those entities were. Right. And so that's what's sitting in the vault. And Kelbor Hal says, I know of Moravec's work. The coming of the Omnissiah was his last prophecy before he vanished.
Hmm.
So Moravec planted the prophecy of the Omnissiah with the Emperor thousands of years ago.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's all kind of
Yeah, and he's also the one who caused the kind of AI uprisings on Terra. Is that correct?
yeah. He was trying to build these fancy machine,
Yeah.
and the Emperor's like, "No, you're not," and he left to Mars, and basically sealed all his knowledge away behind this vault.
Right.
And the Emperor knows it's behind it because he does a 16-minute check, and he's like, "Still back there. Don't open this door."
Yeah. So I know the two rules: the no AI rule, and then the don't open the vault.
Right.
So I know some people have doubts on whether or not they can open the vault and stuff like that. Like Kelbor, Hal is kind of talking about he wants to open the vault, and then Zeth is talking about like I don't know all that kind of stuff. How do they feel about the AI stuff?
Well, they love AI, Mechanicus.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean that's like prime machine,
Right.
a thinking machine that can like do all this information. I mean that's awesome, right? Because it's a knowledge creator.
Yeah.
They big fans of AI.
Okay.
That's why he's annoyed that he can't make one.
Got it.
They wanna,
Even with them going in and killing like the servitors and all that kind of stuff.
we could just work that out in the
Okay.
We'll just buff out the scratches a little later as we go. It's just all for the sake of knowledge, right?
Got it.
Mechanicus don't really have a moral
Compass.
Yeah, it makes you smarter. That's okay. Like if that AI killed 10 million people, they'd be like, well, this didn't kill 10 million and one people. Like that's how they think.
Got it.
So they open the vault, and what comes out is basically a plague. It's called Scrapcode. So the Mechanicum is linked by like a shared data network. It's kind of they can talk to each other over this network.
Okay.
Basically a holy internet.
Right.
Is the best way I can say it. But this corruption, this Scrapcode spreads from the vault, spreads through this network like a plague. Starts infecting all these different little areas of knowledge repositories. It's like if all the websites like Facebook went down all of a sudden, then all of a sudden Twitter goes down, and then it goes back up, and then it's like filled with like imagine if somebody bought Twitter and then it got filled with like racists and sexist and all these different types of things, and they renamed it to X, something crazy like that. That's kind of what the Scrapcode does.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that would never happen. So, because it basically rewrites the machine.
Mm-hmm.
It gets in you, you go, oh, and then this is rewritten to be a little different.
Mm.
Not a totally obvious way, but just a little different. Because can warp entities affect Mechanicus? This is exactly what is happening.
Okay.
This is a evil warp machine virus.
Okay. So I know you said it changed them in a way. I guess what does that look like?
So it goes across the planet, and the manufacturing lines keep running, but the safety protocols get deleted, and they start processing their own work crews. So it's basically any safety regulations, any rules we had about things are gone now. It's total, I want to say anarchy because there's still rules, but it's like now really whatever it takes to get what we want is what's going to happen. Like now we've gone evil, we've gone rogue basically.
Okay.
And servitors start killing people. Like it's just machine havoc.
Mm-hmm.
And priests can feel it in their minds. Like they can feel like their almost memories and brain getting rewritten in an instant. It's a very painful thing. So, and like their whole system of binary, they talk to each other, turns into like shrieking nonsense, and they call it the death of innocence. With the vault open and the plague loose, Kelbor Hal steps out and he starts purging. And he says, I'm on the War Master's side. And he is going to basically kill, capture, exile anybody who's against him and Horus's plans.
Right.
There was one person, her name was Coriel Zeth. Mm-hmm. And he says, we're going to go down there and we're going to tell her what's up. Mm-hmm. So he sends Melgator, not Malkador, Melgator, to the Magma City with an ultimatum. He says, either you will answer for your heresies, your unbelief in the science of your forge, and you will submit to the Fabricator General's new order. And she says, no, he's crazy, you're crazy, get out of here. And Kelbor Hal is like, all right, guess we'll do it the hard way. Because he believes in the machine god absolutely. And he thinks that the Emperor's restrictions are changed on the faith. So he doesn't believe actually the Emperor is Omnissiah. He thinks Horus is the Omnissiah now.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, is this still aligning with them thinking the Emperor is Omnissiah? But no, they're switching that to...
No, if the Omnissiah was real, he wouldn't tell us we can't do what we want to do. Obviously, Horus is the right one because he's letting us do what we want to do.
Right.
Promises knowledge unbound and doubts that. But she keeps her oath anyways because that is the law and is in the Imperium she thinks is worth keeping around.
Okay.
So you have this big split right down the middle. You have Zeth's side, you have Kelbor Hal's side. So you have the forces of the Fabricator General are Kelbor Hal, Lucas Crom, Malevolus, Regulus, and Melgator. And you have Zeth. On the good side, you have Zeth, Zagreus Kane, and Maximal, and obviously, Daria or Dahlia and her people.
Right.
So they had the Civil War, obviously, and within some time, Forge City start making decisions because they basically go to them and say, "All right, what side are you on?" And they start making I'm gonna join you or I want to join you. Hal is getting a lot of support pretty quickly because that's kind of Mechanicum's thing is knowledge, and he says, "Yeah, we can do knowledge unbound." They're like, "Well, this is a pretty good deal." So he gets a lot of support. But the problem is, that's the Magma City is one of the biggest manufacturing places in the entire planet. So we really need to get that one. And it kind of goes back to him basically telling the Stormlord, "Hey, the storm is coming, and you're gonna have to pick a side because that's what's happening right now."
Right.
So the war kicks off, and you basically have Titan on Titan violence, and is big and is bad, right? Because you have these massive machines, like maybe in this picture of them on Mars, like that thing in the background. That's what a normal Titan looks like, and these little ones right here are like normal like Warhound things.
Right.
Some are even bigger than this. So these things are fighting. It is nuts, right? They're just blowing buildings apart. It's kind of the best example, Pacific Rim, right? Or Gundam, or really anything with mechs. Think like without aliens, but Evangelion, right? It's like that. Your cities are just getting leveled. It's a whole mess.
Right.
So in the Skitarii are fighting too. And the Skitarii are kind of like cyborg soldiers, and they're just destroying everything. It's scorched Mars, not scorched Earth, but scorched Mars.
Yeah.
And it's going bad, especially for the loyalists, because Kelbor has a lot of support. And he also is the Fabricator General, which means he's like the president of the world. So he also has the authority too.
Right.
So Caballero, his Victorix Magna, gets crippled, and and that's the Stormlord's one of his engines. And they're saying it is beyond the ability to restore. And he brings it home, and he's sealed. Basically, the Princeps is sealed in this amniotic casket, and he's processing battlefields through this manifold. He wants to get back out there. It's like, oh, I can get out there and I can start killing again. Because he is, like we said, he's like one of the oldest ones, and he's one of the most dangerous. So he's a God Machine pilot with no God Machine. So they're going to put him in a new thing called the Deus Tempestus, which was another one of the Titans. And the corruption is also doing his thing in getting in the networks, fighting the machine spirits. So you have almost 2 wars going on there. And it can happen where, let's say, I'm going to shoot my big laser, my big plasma cannon at you. The Scrapcode overwrites it and doesn't shoot it. So it's even doing stuff like that. It's starting to mess with their machines, and data can't be trusted. Any system linked to the wrong thing can turn to traitor. It's loyalists, they're deaf, they're blind, they're losing, basically, really badly.
Right. So the Scrapcode is, a warp entity or whatever. Right. So is that assisting the side of Horus? Got it.
Because Kelbor Hal wanted, it's because since he freed it, it basically is kind of loyal to him in a way, and also it's already turning him to do the things he was going to do anyways. So even if he did get rewritten, it didn't change much,
Got it.
because he's already getting a little rotten.
Got it.
So it's getting closer and closer to Magma City, and Zeth makes a decision that she says Dalia has to go. She can't stay here or she's going to die, or worse, they're going to use her mind for whatever machines they want to build. So she gets her and tries to send her away, but she sends her away to that presence in the maze that Dalia keeps dreaming about, that dragon. And the dragon is somewhere underground in like some tunnel. So out of the fighting, way out in like the desert or in the wasteland. So there's also an assassin as well that is working through everyone connected to Zeth's inner projects. And her name is Remy, and she ends up meeting Melisson. And Melison's sitting there just hanging out, and she presses the silent alarm button because, like, I'm about to, there's an assassin in here. And Melisson basically tells her, you came here for no reason. I've already erased all the data. You can't do anything. And the assassin says, that's not going to work because you may have erased your memory coils, but the soft meat beneath remembers. And then she says the Mechanicum never deletes anything. So basically, she's going to just steal her brain. It's real nasty. So Melisson ends up dying, gets killed by this assassin, and the Kaban machine is also being let out to keep killing, has been overwritten as well. So this thing is also now more evil than it was before.
Okay.
And they give it a target to go kill Dalia. Go find her in the waste and go kill her. And it says, okay. And eventually catches up with them. And they're on this maglev train, and it stops the train. I don't know, physically, technologically, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But he shoots a cannon at the driver's compartment and it just destroys the entire driver's compartment. So the train's not going anywhere. And they're starting to think, and then you're gonna left with this thing of had the Kaban machine already killed everybody, right? Like, cause it's just. Did you ever play Borderlands 2?
Yeah.
So you know that part in the very beginning where you're going through the train, all of a sudden there's a bunch of bombs on it?
Yeah.
Is that basically?
Okay.
So what happens is Dahlia's still alive, and she looks at the Kaban machine, and it says, this time she saw into the heart of the Kaban machine. She understood it completely. That's her power, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's a thinking machine, she can understand its perception, its logic, how it decides what's alive and what's prey. Like, she sees all of his data. She sees the matrix. She sees the code. And she tells it, the hunt is over. We're all dead. And it says, okay, I guess you're all dead. And it leaves. She basically tricks it because she knows how to. So the survivors leave from the train, and they eventually find it, the labyrinth. And the machine is kind of just walking back, but then it starts like rewriting itself, being like, wait a minute, they weren't dead. Because if they were dead, how did she tell me to not? So it starts like having to like rewrite itself, but it buys them time.
Right.
So like she goes into the labyrinth, which is a silver cavern. Inside it is an old man, and he says, "I'm the guardian, but men once called me Semyon, and he's guarding the oldest secret on Mars." And the priesthood up top, there's stories of this so-called dragon of Mars, but nobody really knows what it is. And he says, "I'm going to show you." Basically, a knight showed up, fought a huge beast, and then beat it, but he couldn't kill it. So he trapped it here, chained it underneath Mars, and told everyone that it's dead and don't ever worry about this ever again. Now, what it actually is a being from millions of years ago called the Void Dragon. And I have a picture of it here. Now, it's not a dragon in the way of like an actual, like, Arthurian dragon or Chinese dragon or whatever. It's just a term kind of used in the way of like a force of nature.
Okay.
So this thing was a Satan shard, and what the Satan were millions of years ago was this race of, these weren't really race, but they were these energy beings, these godlike beings that eventually showed up in space, in the universe, and started eating suns because they were just energy devourers. But they were not physical, they were just energy. So they couldn't interact with the physical world, but they could interact with like the energy world. So they could like eat suns and stuff like that.
Okay.
Eventually, they meet the Necrontyr and the Old Ones, and the Necrontyr are getting killed by the Old Ones. Long story short, they give the Satan physical bodies to help the Necrontyr fight this war against the Old Ones. Eventually, the war ends, and the biotransference happens. That's where the Necrons come from, because one of the Satan lied to them and was just like, "Oh no, you can be immortal too," and then it sucks all their souls. That's the whole thing. We'll get into it one day. But what matters is eventually the Necron made tools to break apart the physical bodies of the. Now you can't destroy them because of energy, except for one of them, which they did somehow, and it made the flare virus. So they broke them into shards. So the shards are basically these pieces of the Satan body that are super powerful things depending on the size of the shard. So you could have like a sliver, and it's like, sure, I can shoot like fire out of it, but if you have like, let's say, a chunk of it, you can like cause like planets to like implode or something crazy. You know what I mean? Maybe not that much, but or cause like meteor swarm. Think of it like a spell scroll in D&D.
Yeah.
You got first level spell scrolls all the way to ninth level spell scrolls. So the Void Dragon is a very big piece. The Emperor fought it and sealed it away because he's like, this thing, I can't kill it. It's energy. So he seals it away instead. And that is what the Void Dragon is under Mars. Is that thing. Very dangerous thing. So he says, Semyon says, the grand lie of the red planet and the truth would shake the galaxy if it were known. And they asked him the obvious question. So I was like, well, if we found the dragon, do we free it? Like, like help us? And he's, no, don't do that. Oh, no.
I don't know about that one.
Good idea, but no, that would not, everybody would die.
Yeah.
The Emperor would have to come back and take care of this again. Because at this point, I guess the Emperor is on Terra at this point, because I think he's doing the Webway project. So he would be close enough to maybe show up, but no, because then the Webway project, I don't know. That would be really bad news.
Right.
But eventually, so we go back to the Kaban machine, and eventually it finishes its recalculation. And he goes, wait a minute, she tricked me. So he starts heading back, and it comes back and arrives back at the labyrinth, and it goes to kill them. And it's fighting them, and Romu, 31, steps between it and Dalia. And as it's about to kill all of them, the ground starts shaking. And you hear a voice cut through the gunfire and says, the Knights of Tyrannus. So you see a bunch of knights, Maven and Cronus, the Equitus Bellum, and the Pax Mortis. They are moving down through the desert, and they catch up with them finally. And they tracked because they were tracking the Kaban machine.
Okay. And so the Knights of Tyrannus and all that stuff, are they loyalists?
Yes, because they're one of the oldest houses, and they're one of the most loyal to the Emperor because they were there when he was there making the treaty.
Right.
So is Kelbor Hal, but he's just kind of a stinker anyway, so whatever.
Yeah.
So they start shooting it, and the Kaban machine is keeping up because you got to think it's basically as big as a Titan is, like a Warhound Titan, but it's its own thing. So it can move faster than them, it can hit harder than them, it can think faster than them. And Maven gets dropped, and Maven tells Cronus to like do some tactics that they talked about, and eventually they stab like a knife, not a knife, like a giant 4-meter war blade through the Kaban machine. That didn't realize they had it's like a hidden blade, Assassin's Creed style, through this machine. They just had to get close enough for them to do it. So they get up, but Maven is his knight is dying, and Dahlia walks out and she touches the machine, and she does the same thing the Emperor did somehow, because that golden light, that like power, had been passed to her from the I don't know, some magic through like being around the Guardian and the Void Dragon and her mind. It just all kind of coalesced into her being able to do this.
Okay.
So back to Kelbor Hal, he's moving on the Magma City, and the loyalists get together. Basically, are like talking like, all right, well, like, what do we do? Like, it's getting to a bad point. And Zeth in a Pluvia Maximal basically says the planet is lost. So what are we going to do about that? Like, we know we're going to die, so we're going to make it cost something. So he says, I won't let Kelbor Hell have my reactors. So he's going to blow up all his reactors down this like giant half the south of the like thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Kelbor Hal is massing everything he has. They're called the Dark Mechanicum now, the evil ones. So he gets all the Dark Mechanicum together, and plus Legio Mortis, and he's moving down there. And the Knights of Tyrannus and the Legion of Tempest are trying to slow them down. And they put the Stormlord's casket from the Chamber of the First, and they put him into the Deus Tempestus, and he's getting ready to roll. And they're fighting, and Verticorda's fighting, this ancient guy that was there from back in the day who's witnessed the Emperor himself. Mm-hmm. And he finds Ambassador Melgator, and he kills him. But then the problem was he ends up getting killed in the process as well. Verticorda does. Okay. But as he dies, he was smiling because he was setting up his machine to basically self-destruct. Mm. And Titans are powered by like nuclear reactors, but bigger. Think like the Death Star, right? Obviously, it blows up. It's like a big explosion. It's like that, right? Like the explosion would be bigger than the actual thing because it's just this plasma energy is just so powerful.
Right.
So they're all fighting and fighting and fighting. He's watching as they're getting closer and closer to him. This Aquila Ignis is starting toward him in triumph, coming to claim his prize. And he noticed that the enemy guns have gone quiet. And he feels a breaching charge going up against his Titan legs. And he understands what they're about to do is they're about to run up into his machine and get him and pull him out because they want him to be a trophy and they want him to turn him on their side because he's this ancient guy with this ancient mind. And he says, I don't think so. He says, disengage all reactor safeties. And they do. And then the heat starts going up. It gets super hot. And he says his last words are, may the Omnissiah forgive us. And then his nuclear bomb goes off. And it's basically a miniature sun for a moment on the planet. Right. And he kills a lot. He takes a lot of them with him. And Zeth, on her end, also starts to realize they're going to take the Akashic reader as well. And I can't let him have that. So she says, he will not have the Akashic reader. And then Coriel Zeth unleashed doom upon her forge. So she basically sets all the reactors up, blows up the whole city, and it drowns in the lava and all the magma pools, and she dies with it. And now, sure, Kelbor Hal won, but he didn't get what he wanted, and he's very mad about that.
Right. And so, is the Akashic reader then destroyed?
Destroyed.
Okay.
It's gone. If on the lava, blew up, it's ashes. Well, Hal gets there and he goes, "Nah, I wanted that."
Yeah.
She's like, "If I can't have it, nobody can have it." So, eventually, word has reached Terra, and Rogel Dorn hears about it. And now I said we're going to talk about Primarchs. We're going to talk about a little bit of Primarchs. When he sends Sigismund with some Imperial fists, he says, we need to get the survivors out because we're not going to be able to retake the planet. That's not going to be possible. So we need to get as many survivors as we can. Right. And they show up, and yeah, it's kind of like World War One when we showed up to help, and we were all like fresh faced and like, so what's going on, guys? You guys like, what are we doing? You know, it's like that. The spacemen showed up, and they're all fresh, ready to go. They're killing all these guys, and they say it was like a golden flock of avenging angels showing up and saving the day. And Zagreus King is still alive. We talked about him a little earlier, and he gets the rest of the loyal priesthood. He's basically, we got to get out of here. And some of them don't want to leave, but they will anyways because it's, but it's like that's their planet, it's Mars, right? And they leave under these stormbirds and head back to Terra. So Mars stays in Traitor's hands.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the Guardian, you had most of the people that were working with Dahlia are dead now. Milas was burned up in the machine. Melisande was killed by the assassin. Severin was killed by basically the dragon. Information was too much for her. And she says, like, what's happening? And there's this person named Caxton, who was this engineer, and she leaves, carried out by a protector. And Zeus also leaves, and Simeon ends up dying because he's just too old and it's time to go. But he tells her, you must fulfill your destiny and become the guardian of the dragon. And Dahlia's like, okay. So then she becomes the new guardian of the dragon. And Romu stays with her because, why not?
Yeah.
And then Zeus says to Dalia, I will never see you again, will I? And Dalia says, if anyone asks, tell them I died when the Kaban machine attacked. So, as far as everybody knows, she died on the train attack.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of ends with 10,000 years would pass before the next guardian was drawn. So she was there guarding that thing for another 10,000 years, supposedly.
Yeah. So the previous guardian, was he a human?
He was a Mechanicus.
Okay. So that's how they're able to live for
Yeah,
so
they're
long.
just enhanced biology. And also just being guardian, I think, enhances you in some, I don't know. It's warp magic. It's not warp magic, but like energy and
yeah,
it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's basically what happens there. So kind of where it's at now is Dalia stays beneath Mars as the new guardian with Romu. Semyon is dead. Severin is dead. Caxton is Zeus. The official record says Kaban machine killed her, and the myth of the dragon has kind of gone away.
Okay.
What happens is Simeon's book, where he wrote down kind of the whole thing about the truth of it, is gone, but you don't know who took it. And that's kind of that little loose end. It's like, oh, maybe someone else does know about the dragon. Ooh. But if 10,000 years passes, nothing happens. So,
right.
So where that leaves us is Mars is lost. Dark Mechanicum become the new owners of it, and they're on Horus's side. So that's really bad. As we talked about at the beginning, they make everything almost. I mean, there are other Forge worlds out there, but that was the biggest and most productive one. And they, took some survivors back. So they have Zagreus Kane back and some other people. And Zagreus Kane is important. So we'll get into him a little later. And that's kind of what's happening here. So, yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. So I know this is all kind of in the context of Mars. So are the rest of the Forge worlds going to kind of follow suit, or is it going to be independent?
It's independent way of they kind of choose over time who they're going to be, what they want to do, and a similar thing will happen on those places. But it's like a bigger deal here because one is Mars, and it's really close to Terra, and it's like the biggest Forge world.
Got it. And then Kelbor, how is the Fabricator General? Is that just for Mars, not for all the...
Just for Mars.
Okay.
Each planet has its own Fabricator General. I have to look into that. It might be that every planet has their own, but I don't think so, actually. Because I think the Fabricator General is kind of like the Emperor of the Mechanicus.
Right.
Where it's like if he went to another planet, they would all hold him in high regard.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, too, like a lot of the planets over time also go on Horus's side because of the Fabricator General being on Horus's side. We're like, well, he's the authority. And also, you're telling me we can study whatever we want? I mean, it's a very easy sell for a lot of those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. And then the kind of Scrapcode virus, is that still spreading throughout the kind of loyalist Mechanicus people as well?
Yes. So with the loyalists who got away, they're good because it never got to them.
Okay.
But it still exists, and it's basically like a virus, like a plague. So if any of these Dark Mechanicus go to another Mechanicus world, and they can basically install it into them, which is a dangerous thing as well. But yeah, so it still exists, and it can still get moved around because it's kind of its own warp entity thing.
And then I think the last thing I have, So I know you said that Dahlia is like the guardian of the Void Dragon for the next like 10,000 years. Does that mean like they just all kind of forget about it and nothing really is there? Okay.
It's basically that don't worry, the Void Dragon is not getting out. Like, because you're like, if that gets out, what if Horus takes it out or something? It's like, no, the myth, the dragon basically dies there. And only certain people even know about it. Really, which we'll get to that. Because, I mean, 10,000 years from then is literally the end of, is like the modern times. So, I don't know who the new guardian is I don't even know if they said it in the lore recently, but nothing happens with the Void Dragon until then, really. So.
Because I was like, oh, is this going to come back up when we talk about like the Necrons and stuff like that? I guess it will from like what they did in the past and kind of how they got there, but nothing new has come of.
Yeah, but even the Necrons, because they're not awake yet, that's about 10,000 years from now.
Right.
They know where all the different shards are. They kind of spread across the galaxy. They have a lot of them, but it's not like they put trackers on each one. They're kind of scattered like the Dragon Balls all over the place.
Okay.
So now, do they have ways of finding them better than other people? Sure. But no, they would never know the Void Dragon is under Mars unless they specifically went to Mars and could like detect it or something like that. But yeah, so that's basically Mechanicum, what happens there. It's an interesting book. Some interesting stuff happens. It's a little, I would say it's filler, but I think introduced a lot of interesting things that are like you said with the Void Dragon, right? Like because Necrons aren't really like a thing. So you now in the book they don't talk about the Necrons as Don. They say, oh, it's this ancient creature.
Right.
But that type of stuff, or Zagreus Kane in the Mechanicus, like how does Mars being taken over, how does that affect Terra? You know, like you have all these different kind of threads in a way that lead to different things. So I think it's useful, especially later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely interesting to kind of think about all the different forces that are on Mars. There's the Mechanicus there, but then there's also this vault with the Scrapcode virus. And
Right.
then there's also the whole Void Dragon underneath. And it's like, how does that affect their beliefs with the Omnissiah stuff?
It's not so simple as just like
There's one thing.
yeah, just because like with Zeth, she didn't necessarily believe in the Omnissiah, but she wasn't evil because of it. Whereas Kelbor had totally believed in the Omnissiah, but thought that the Emperor was too limiting. So it's like almost you have these shades of gray, these characters
Right.
being like, oh, that's not so simple as just good guys, bad guys.
Right.
Especially because you think Zeth is a good guy, but then she burns out Milas on the machine just to kind of be like, yes, he doesn't work. And it's like, okay, we need to do that. That was a little much.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this before, maybe not in an episode, but like the Warhammer stuff is very much like you can't be like, oh, look how like evil Zeth looks because they're all kind of very brutal.
Yeah, they're all evil. Just like there's really you can't. And we haven't really talked about it much, but the only faction that's even decent is the Tau. But even they do some things that are bad. But that's a long time from now. And they're the only people that you're like, I guess living their society wouldn't be that bad. I mean, they have a caste system, but like,
You're not becoming a servant.
you're not getting your brain scooped out because I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, it's brutal. There are no real winners here.
Yeah.
On a positive note, if you guys enjoyed that one, tell your friends, do all this stuff. And we'll see you for the next one. We're going to talk about the Ultramarines. So that should be fun.
Nice.
All right. Bye.